I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV for the better part of the last 4 years. In that time, I've invested nearly 2,000 hours into it. That hardly makes me an expert, but I'm certainly not an amateur. I'd like to preface this video by saying that I adore Final Fantasy XIV. It's my favorite MMO on the market, and I'm certainly not interested in drawing any ire. You can go ahead and move your mouse cursor away from the dislike button now. After the reveal of Dawntrail at the recent COVID Super Spreader event in Las Vegas, I could only describe my reaction with one word, and it's a good word too: ennui. Which is to say, a feeling of listlessness and dissatisfaction arising from a lack of occupation or excitement. But how could that be? We're getting a graphical overhaul, multiple dye options, an in-game whiteboard feature so I can stop watching savage guides on YouTube. All of that is true, yet I can't help but feel a faint disinterest in the reveal. Let me explain why. Maybe you'll be able to sympathize, even if you disagree. While I'm aware that there are more revelations to come, what was initially revealed was not actually a revelation, aside from the specific details of where we'll be going, what we'll be doing, and what the expansion itself will be called. You might think that this is an unfair criticism since Final Fantasy XIV's ongoing content cycle is likely the most consistent on the market. We know when we're getting new dungeons, new trials, new alliance raids, and new 8-player raids. While things are rarely a surprise, there is a great benefit to knowing what exactly is coming around the corner and when it will be delivered. This is a safe and effective approach to the live service model. I can't fault the developers for designing their roadmap this way. However, there is a negative side effect to this approach, and it's beginning to rear its head. Let's start with the 2 job additions that Yoshi P teased, one likely being the Warrior of Light's job in the trailer and the other having to do with the shirt he was wearing during his presentation. This should be exciting. Are we getting a Corsair job? Will the other job be something like a Pictomancer? Let me ask you this. What does it matter if the job's mechanisms will fall in line with the homogeneous 2-minute burst window design that pervades the entire job roster? It's difficult to feel any excitement in the speculation of what these jobs might be, or far more importantly, how they might play, since the answer to that latter question is obvious, exactly like all the other ones. I can understand why the developers would want to reduce the difficulty of piloting a job while reinvesting that difficulty into the encounters that players must overcome. The issue is that an overwhelming majority of combat encounters in Final Fantasy XIV are vastly undertuned. Coupled with simplified gameplay, it can make the game feel like a slog, and I cannot imagine that the addition of these 2 new jobs will do anything to alleviate that feeling. When I queue for something called an expert dungeon, I shouldn't have to fend off sleep in order to gain access to the tomes at the end. Outside of Extreme, Savage, and Ultimate, Final Fantasy XIV has a difficulty problem, which even makes itself apparent in Final Fantasy XVI, which, as you're probably aware, is also a Creative Business Unit 3 game. While I'm in love with Final Fantasy XVI's story and presentation, it is remarkably, even laughably, easy, which indicates to me that this pattern of undertuned combat encounters enveloped in gorgeous music and outstanding visuals, likely to distract you from the absence of any threat in the encounter, is endemic to the developers' design principles. It's in their DNA. With all of that said, it takes the winds out of my speculative sails, pun fully intended, whenever I think about what these 2 new jobs might be. The fact is that we've played them, and a majority of the opportunities we'll have to engage with their mechanisms will feel unfulfilling due to the easy nature of most of the combat in Final Fantasy XIV. Which leads me to my next point of contention with the Dawntrail reveal: a complete absence of any meaningful changes to progression systems at the end game. I had a faint hope that the Criterion dungeons, particularly the Savage version, would offer enticing rewards and a new path to gearing outside of the current Savage raid tier. Of course, I was wrong, and there aren't any indications that future iterations of this new content will offer anything outside of cosmetic rewards and mounts. One of the things that Final Fantasy XIV lacks is plentiful opportunity to express player prowess outside of the enclosed spaces in which they're strictly meant to. Earning your full best in slot gear from the Savage raid tier will only have a material impact on your Savage raiding experience. Giving players an opportunity to work towards gearing via Criterion Savage dungeons, for example, would instantly revolutionize the tried and true system that 14 has relied on for years. It would also offer players a second avenue through which mastery could be expressed in exchange for meaningful rewards. Third, if you include Ultimates, but I think we'd all preferred if vertical progression was kept separate from Ultimates. As of now, you clear the Savage raid tier over and over again, you reach the highest item level, then you continue to clear the Savage raid tier until your static disbands unceremoniously. Perhaps you aren't interested in high difficulty combat encounters. Perhaps you aren't concerned with the streamlined design of the combat jobs. You hardly care about fighting at all when you play Final Fantasy XIV. I would contend that you too may be underserved. During the presentation, Yoshi P spent a substantial amount of time introducing players to the unique biomes of the new world as well as its inhabitants. We were given beautiful screenshots, striking concept art, and plenty of world building, but this is an area in which Final Fantasy XIV finds itself lacking lacking too. Considering my experience with Shadowbringers and Endwalker, I do not anticipate that I will be incentivized in any way to interface with those beautifully rendered areas or with any of the people who live in them. Based on my pattern of daily behavior with 14 during the previous 2 expansions, I'll teleport to where I need to go, I'll fly over any notable landmarks or geography, then I'll rarely feel inclined to explore or exist in those spaces again. Rather, I'll log in already within a major city, then queue up for whatever content I want to do without ever interacting with the world that the developers so painstakingly created. While 14 is ahead of the pack in the MMO genre on a significant number of points, the open world experience is not one of them. And Dawntrail has shown no indication that it'll be improved, which is acutely painful in this case since the new world looks like the kind of place that would be worth getting lost in. I've said all of this with the full knowledge that there may be some groundbreaking system changes on the horizon for Final Fantasy XIV being withheld for the next 2 FanFests. But I'm not hopeful. In this particular ecosystem, patterns hold fast and change is a rare bird indeed. This video isn't meant to be a scathing indictment of the game. Allow me to repeat that I have a great deal of love for Final Fantasy XIV. Even now, as I sit here recording this audio, I would much rather be playing it, but alas, content is king. Dawntrail will be good, of that I'm certain. I'll absolutely be there the moment it's available to play, without a doubt. I just believe that after the incredible conclusion of the 10-year Hydaelyn Zodiark saga, the world of 14 is at a critical junction where it must decide if it wishes to stay the course or reinvent itself. While I would personally prefer the latter, the formula that Creative Business Unit 3 has laid out for its players simply works. Why fix a wheel that isn't broken, right? Well, maybe the wheel is fine, but wouldn't it be nice if the car moved a bit faster? Feel free to subscribe, or don't. I'm not much of a YouTuber anyway. I would appreciate some feedback in the form of a like or a dislike so I'll know what kind of content to make in the future. Minding my manners, of course. My name's Ember, and thanks for watching.